Good morning. All by myself here this morning. I'm actually going to be doing some quick repairs on these Xbox controllers. So we're going to be replacing the analog sticks in these with some of these TMR Silver Hall Effect sticks. So I'm going to be using a variety of different tools here. I'm going to be using my soldering iron as well as my desolder gun to get the old sticks off. So let's go ahead and get started on that as soon as I find my case cracker here. Move this out of the way before I burn myself. These things give me the most trouble of any part of these repairs is getting these plastic covers off. Come on. If you guys know a better way to get these off, let me know. Come on. Man, they just do not want to come off. And my soldering iron just threw an error. There we go. There we go. I don't know why these things gave me so much trouble. Stay. Maybe it's just I'm so afraid to break them. Whoa! That just went flying across the room. Ah. Come on now. This is embarrassing. Oh. I do these all the time, and this one is just being very problematic. Hey, there we go. There's one. Let's get this other one off. Now watch, this one's going to be super easy. Got the difficult one. There we go. There's two. All right. Then we got 4 screws to take out. Got one here, one here, one here, one here, and there's one underneath of this label we got to take out. So let's get those. I'm going to try not to ruin this label. I like to put it back the way I found it. Get that started. I come in here with a pair of tweezers that actually have some grip on them. And then we'll peel it slowly. There we go. These are all Torx bits. That's the wrong size. That's the wrong size too. Use the right size. That wasn't the wrong size. I'm just impatient. Yep, that was right. Get that one. And in case you're wondering, this is a Torx T8. Come on, screw. Everything wants to be a problem this morning. I was hoping to get 2 of these done before I have to go to work this morning. The way this is going, not looking so promising. All right. So now we got those screws out. This faceplate comes off. We can pop our stick covers off here. Put these off to the side. And then our whole stick should just fall out. So now we have to take this board, this particular board right here out. So this board can stay in. And this board has to come out, and then we also have to desolder these wires here, which is interesting because both of these wires are black, and I'm used to one of these wires being gray. So I don't know if that matters or not. Take a look here real quick. I put my eyeballs on. Okay, so one of these wires has a gray stripe on it, but the other one does not. So the gray stripe is going to go up, and then the red is up, and both blacks are down below. So same thing over here. So we can go ahead and get these desoldered. I'm going to use a little bit of flux to desolder these wires. Turn my fume extractor on here. Hopefully it's not too noisy for you all. All right, and then we have these two wires right here that connect to this board. So these just pop right off. They have little connectors on them. So we're just going to pop those off. Then we have two more screws. So there's you can see it on the camera here. There's one right here. And then same thing on the other side. There's one right there. And my camera's falling down. Let me fix that for you all. When did that happen? Got some better equipment coming today to hold my camera here. Jeff Bezos is delivering it personally. So there's only two different kinds of screws that are in the controllers. There's these two screws that are right here. They're a little smaller. And then you actually have the case screws here, which you can see are a little, they're quite a bit different. They're bigger. All right. So once you pull up on this board, there is a little connector underneath it here. So you're going to pop it up and you will feel it pop because underneath of this board, there's a little connector right here that this plugs into. And then this is the board that we're going to work on. So I'm going to set this off to the side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get started on removing these sticks. Let's see if I can move this camera down a little bit better here. Down more. Get closer. Get one of those like free motion booms. Mine is a little bit more primitive technology. All right, so we're going to put some flux on these connections right here. So we're going to put some flux right on these. You can see these pads that are going around in a circle motion right here. These are for that stick. And then if we come over here, you can see the very same thing here. So I'm going to put some flux on these, and I'm going to use my desoldering iron, this tool right here, to remove the solder from those points. They also make a couple different tools that you can use to get these out. They actually make a soldering tip. They make a tip for your soldering iron. They can actually go over top of all of these at the same time. You just pull the stick right out. I don't have that, so I'm going to roll with what I got. So I turn the desolder gun on. Red light is on. Having one of these desolder guns really does make the job a lot easier. But if you don't have one of these, you could just use a solder sucker to suck out the solder from these holes. Looks like I might have a little bit more in some of these. All right, that's good. Let's see if we can get this stick off. So usually what I like to do is just kind of take a pair of tweezers under these 2 points right here. So there's like 2 points here and here. I like to put my tweezers under and just kind of pry up a little bit and see if it will come off. And it is coming up. And I'll just come over here on the other side and do the same thing. So that might actually show a little bit better. I'm thinking that something over here is holding this one. So I'm just going to melt this a little bit more and see if there's anything left. They use lead-free solder on these, which has a higher melting point than the stuff that I use. So sometimes you just don't quite get all of it. And there goes the stick. So the stick came up, but this analog, this actuator here didn't come off. So I'm going to go ahead and use my iron here and see if I can heat this up and pull it off. Yeah, there's still a little bit of solder left on here. That's why it didn't come off. I'm going to use a little bit more flux here, and I'm actually going to put some solder back on it. A pretty decent sized blob of it here. And just heat all 3 of these pins at the same time. And see if I can get this off. right here. And there we go. Got that off. Now we can take this board back out, get the solder out of these holes, and put the new stick on. And that's what it should look like when the stick comes completely off. All the holes should be clear. And then we're just going to put our new stick on. And solder it back into place. So we're going to put this in our vise. New flux. 2 sides done, then I can do the rest. Let's key our soldering tip here. How's everybody doing this morning? I see there's a couple of you watching. Nobody chatting. There we go. There's one. One more to go. Let's get the flux cleaned up. A little bit of IPA on a Q-tip. Once more. Other side. There's one stick up. Let's get the other one done. So you might also find that if you take a little bit of fresh solder and put it on the pads here, I'm going to try doing that this time. So I'm going to put my board in the vise here, and I'm going to put some leaded solder on these and see if it actually comes out better, which it should. Like I said, this solder has a lower melting temperature than the stuff they use from the factory. All right, now let's try this. See if this works better. Oh, that was hot. All right. So that did work a lot better than the last time. Just trying to take out the factory solder. So mixing it with the low melt actually does help quite a bit. So now let's go ahead and take out this stick. Like I said, I like to get underneath on the one side and just kind of pry up. If it doesn't come out, don't force it, because that means you probably have solder and you're in the holes still. And we don't want to rip any pads. So go back and reheat and get the rest of the solder out of those holes. So the stick came out, but these did not. Oh, yes, they did. There we go. That came out really good that time. All right, so put our new stick in. Like I said, these are the K Silver TMR sticks. I got them from AliExpress. So these are TMR sticks, which means they're, what I understand, they're second generation Hall Effects. Much better than the sticks that come on the controller. For these sticks here, you can see the way they work inside is there's a little this little piece of plastic here twists on the inside, and there's actually a physical connection in here. You can see there's actually little connectors in here that ride on this board inside of here. So this is what goes bad after a while is they get dirt and dust and stuff like that inside of them, and they just stop working. Whereas these K Silver sticks, they're Hall Effect, which means they have a little magnet in them. And there's a sensor inside of this section here. There's a little magnet, and then there's a sensor. And as the magnet passes over the sensor, it knows where the stick is. So you might ask yourself, if these are so good, why don't they use them from the factory? There's an easy answer to that question. Is because if they work so good and you never have to replace them, then you never have to buy a new joystick. So there you go. That's why they don't put them in there. Capitalism. It's the same reason why we don't get good refrigerators and good pretty much anything else anymore. Everything is built to be throwaway, replaceable. I have a really old refrigerator out in the garage. It was built in the 70s. It's green and hideous, but you know what? It still works wonderfully. Since then, that was actually given to me by one of my neighbors when I lived at my old house, and so he had it for a long, long time. And since then I've gone through probably three or four. Well, probably three. I think three modern refrigerators. Meanwhile, that one is still kicking. The old phrase that they don't build things like they used to is absolutely 100% true. All right, so we got this stick attached. We're going to go ahead and get the flux up. Let me get this thing back together and test it. Stay there, camera. All right. Put my vise over here. I'm kind of hoping that white stuff is just flux from the factory, but that's kind of concerning. I think that's what it is. I think it's just residual flux from when it was built. It always freaks me out because I work on the Xbox consoles too, and they have the same thing. They got like this white flux all over the bottom of them. So when you're going to put your controller back together, this right here is your microphone jack. So you want to make sure that doesn't fall out. You don't lose that because you will. So we're going to go ahead and put our board back in here. We also have to make sure that our microphone jack does not get out of place, because if it does, you won't be able to push this board down. Okay? So if you can push the board down, you can see the microphone jack where the microphone jack is supposed to go. Let me get some better light on this. Let's see if I can get some better light over here. So you can see where the microphone jack is supposed to go. If it falls down in or anything, you won't be able to push your board down on that little connector that's in there. So, all right, so let's get our two screws back in, the ones that hold the board in place. Remember, those are the two little ones that are different than the others. One of these things is not like the other. All right, so now that we got that, I'm going to go ahead and get these wires reconnected, and then we can reassemble. I wonder if I can put... Can I, and should I, put this in the vise? Can I? Yes. Should I? Good question. Will it stay? That's the next thing. All right, so we're going to flex these connections back up again where these wires went. It did not stay. try down the bottom. I think that'll work better. There we go. That'll work better. All right, so our gray stripe is the wrong tweezers. The gray stripe wire is supposed to go to the top on both sides. So we're going to go, this wire right here has the gray stripe. And then our black wire. And then our red wire goes on top. And then our black wire again. And we're just going to kind of push those over into the side. And then we'll go to the other side. I'm going to go the opposite way this time. There we go. Now we got to remember to put our two connections here back in. So we got these two connectors right here. So this one goes on the top. So we got to get this one back in. Come on. And there we go there. All right, let's get this thing reassembled. So the first thing I need is the sticks. Stick covers, whatever you want to call them. These could be better. So I'm actually going to swap these because this one gets a bit more wear than this one. And this one's already got a little bit of wear here. So I don't know which one they were on, but I presume they were the opposite before. So we'll see if we get some more life out of these. And we're going to sit this back into its chassis here. Front plate cover. Man, somebody's lighting up my phone. And then we can get our screws back in. And I ripped the label. I didn't want to do that, but I did. Hey, good morning, command line. Command the line. Sorry, man. Didn't mean to butcher your name there. I'm also going to clean in these the finger cheese out of these palm rests here because they look like nastiness. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but it's pretty nasty. You can see it kind of flaking up there. It's yucky. Let's get that off of there before we put it together. Ew, look at that. And then we'll do the other side and put these palm rests on and we'll test it out and make sure it works. Got some hair in there too. Any cheese on these? Not that bad. Not bad enough for me to worry about it. All right, put that back down. These should just snap in. Click. Click. All right. Grab some batteries and test this thing out. Apparently somebody has gotten angry at this controller before. It's got a crack in the top of it right there. Crackage. Batteries are in. We got power. All right, let's see what we got here. Bluetooth. Put this thing in pairing mode. Xbox controller. All right, here's our. That looks good. We're not drifting. All right, looks like a successful one. So I know you guys can't see me testing it on the computer here, but the other place I can do this is down on the Xbox. I don't have a setup where I can actually show you guys the joystick setup there, but there you go. So got one of these done. I'm gonna go ahead and do another one. Got the red one here. If you guys missed the earlier part of the stream, we're gonna do it all over again. If you are here, thanks for being here. All right, so this time I'm going to take this label off with my hot air station. I'm just going to turn the heat on a little bit here so I can heat up this label and take it off. And this time I'm going to try not to rip the dang thing as I knock over my bottle of IPA all over my workstation here. So I got this thing turned down real low. It's almost like a hair dryer right now. So if you have a hair dryer, this is how you can do that too. All right, let's see if that might be good enough. So that came off a lot easier than the last time. Number one, now the bane of my existence is getting these palm rests off. See if I can get them off this time without struggling too much. Dude, I hate these things. Don't worry about the cracks and pops. Not breaking it. At least I don't think I am. There we go. See? Nothing broken. Look at that. All right, I'm getting better at taking these things off now. I think I was just so afraid to break them before that I just wasn't pulling hard enough. I'm getting a sip from my Stanley. That's better. All right, off to the side. Sticks off. Out of the chassis. All right. Like I said before, we're going to take these wires off. So the gray stripe is always on the top, black on the bottom, red on the top, black on the bottom. Same thing over here, no different. Red on the top, black on the bottom, gray stripe on the top, black on the bottom. think I mentioned this before, but I got some better equipment coming today. I'm going to try not to drop my tent camera here. There we go. Welcome to the new folks that are in the stream. This is Amateur Hour. I am not a professional. This is not my day job. I am just a hobbyist. So if you guys want to do this, you can learn how to do it too. I just realized why this is not working the way that it should be. It's because I didn't put any flux on these. And my hand is covering the camera. You guys did not yell at me. We'll get our two connectors off again. Get our two screws out. I failed to tell you guys the size of this Torx screw here last time. That is a Torx T6. So you need a T6 and a T8 to do this job. We'll pop our board up and not lose our headphone jack there. Inspect our board, make sure everything looks good, which it does. So we're going to do this the same way we did it the last time. Although this time I'm going to take the good route of putting fresh solder on these pads or on these solder points here, so I can more easily get the solder out. Bring over my fume extractor here so I don't get cancer. I'd like to be able to breathe when I'm older, so I'm going to turn my iron temp up here a little bit. All right. And let's go ahead and get this first stick taken out. All right, so I got all the solder out of the holes here. Let's go ahead and get this stick taken off. I'm running out of TMR sticks here. I have to order some more. And I ordered these sticks thinking, maybe I'd start doing this. And it's been pretty good. I mean, I've done more Xboxes than PlayStation 5s, and that doesn't mean anything. I just know more people who have Xboxes. So I do PS5s too. I have TMR sticks for PS5. I also have ones for Xbox One and PS4 on the way. So I've been doing this for friends and neighbors mostly, but these actually belong to a guy who hit me up. I didn't know this person. They just hit me up on Facebook Marketplace to do theirs. So I charge like $45 to do this. I've heard that that's kind of the going rate. The sticks aren't really super expensive, but they're not like cheap. As you can see, it is a little bit of work to do it. Not terrible. All right. Generally, I would talk more, but nobody's in the chat talking. So I guess it's too early for most people. It's especially the folks on the West Coast and stuff. You guys probably aren't even up yet. Here I am fixing PlayStation sticks early in the morning on a Friday. Who does that? Apparently me. Come on, man. Give me something to bite down on. There we go. So welcome if you're here for the first time. This is only my second live stream. I do YouTube videos every once in a while. Not as consistently. This is not my day job. Yeah, I know, right? Don't quit your day job. So I do this as a hobby. It's not really like anything that I want to do professionally or anything like that. I just enjoy fixing broken game consoles and retro stuff. Try to keep stuff out of the landfill. I might have a broken Series S coming later today. If you guys like that kind of thing. I've fixed a PS5 once before. I fixed an Xbox Series X. That was like the worst console I've ever fixed. Like, not that the Series X is bad or anything, but like it had, I think a cat pissed in it. It was so gross, man. It was nasty. But I actually got it all cleaned up and repaired, and it worked good. So. So I'm using my desoldering gun. My desoldering gun to get the solder out of these solder joints that are holding this stick on. So I've put some fresh solder on them to make it a bit easier to get it out. The leaded solder that comes in these is got a higher melting temperature than the low melt that I'm using. It doesn't flow as good as the low melt stuff that I have. So it makes it a bit easier to remove it. I don't like these two. They didn't like. That's better. All the solder didn't quite come out of them, so. We'll see if they come out. All right, let's see if we can get this stick out now. So that side came out. Let's see if this side wants to come out now. Just adjust this a little bit so you guys can see a bit better. That does not seem like it wants to come out, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to put some more flux down in here. But I can still see silver down in a couple of these holes. They're dark and they don't have any solder down in them. Yeah, you can hear my desoldering gun pitch up as if like it can't get whatever's down there out, like a vacuum that's clogged, like that. You hear that? Yeah, it's not. Let me see if I can. Maybe I can stick some more solder down in there. See if that'll come loose. It's only like a couple of them that are like that. This one and this one. Like 2 points just don't want to come loose. All right, now let's see if we can leave the soldering iron on there for a minute to see if it'll melt whatever's down in there. Oh, that was much better. Oh, yeah. Much, much better. All right. Now let's see if it comes out. Hey, there we go. Over on the pile of dead ones. Yep, no torn pads or anything. Everything looks great. Let's get the new stick in. Just going to put it in there and push it down until it goes click. We're through to the other side. Grab my vise here. Why didn't the good Lord give us 3 hands? I need a 3rd hand really bad. Sometimes. I'm just going to get a little bit of solder on each of those 2 pads here just so I can kind of get this thing started. And then I'll do some flux all over the other ones. You can never have too much flux. And nobody likes a dirty tip. I might get this second one done just in time to go to work at my real job. All right, let's clean this flux off. Soak that up And then I'm going to get some IPA. Just kind of clean this up a bit. I think that looks pretty good. So 2K silvers on there. All right. Let's bring our frame back over here. Make sure that our headphone jack is in. We want to slide this down under the thumbsticks or the triggers right here. And then we're just going to make sure it's right at where it needs to be and push down so that that connector that's under there snaps in. All right, so now let's grab our 2 small screws here. Put them back where they need to go to hold this board in. And get our wires reconnected, get this thing back together. So I'm going to put this in the vise like this so you all can follow along. Very carefully, of course. As I mentioned before, the gray goes on top, the red goes on top. Blacks both go on the bottom. So we got flux on there. We're going to do a little bit of new solder on here. And I'm going to grab my wires here. So if I find my gray stripe, there's my gray stripe on top. Oh my gosh, dude. Can't stop shaking this morning. So I want this black wire, the one that goes with the gray. I'm going to get these 2 out of the way. Come on, get out of here. Bro, get out of here. Same thing over here, gray on top, gray stripe on top, black on the bottom. And red stripe on top, or red on top, black on bottom. Why did it stick? All right, and we'll get these on. That one? And that one. All right, let's reassemble it. Need our red thumbsticks, whatever I did with them. Around here somewhere. Ugh. Whenever you put your controller back in, make sure that both your battery terminals are poking through your shell right here, or else you'll have a bad time like I did the other day when I put it all back together and then the controller wouldn't turn on, and I was scratching my head wondering. Come to find out, one of the battery terminals got put on the inside instead of the outside, and then thus no connectivity and no power. So don't make the same mistakes I did. All right. Running low on time here. I got to go to work in 10 minutes. Might get this done just in time. All right, let's clean up the palm cheese here. Clean it out of this groove right here. Anybody here has kids, man, you guys know all about the palm cheese. I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I tell my kids that they need to wash their hands before they play video games because of this. It's like Cheeto dust in your controller. All right, let's get our covers back on. Click. Click. Get some batteries. Steal these batteries out of the other blue one I just did a little while ago. Do we have power? We have power. Do we have... Let's pair it, test it out, and make sure it works. Where is that? All right, so we're going to go into Windows here. I got my controller paired up. My left stick looks good. Right stick looks good. Triggers good. Bumpers good. 4 buttons good. Top hats good. All right, that's awesome. D-pad. Yep, D-pad looks good. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. So I got two Xbox controllers here that we've gone through and did TMR silver upgrade sticks on. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning, guys. And I'll see you all the next time.